Hi, my name is Liz, a big hairy dog, and today I'm going to be showing you an auto utility for Prism. Now, although this is going to be a Prism video, this will actually be taking place in RIL, a retail integration layer or Prism management. This is a back office functionality that does not currently exist in Prism. So to see it in action, we're going to be, again, in RIL, and we're going to go over to merchandise and inventory. Alright, now I need a specific tab. I need to utilize my Auto Min-Max tab right here on the bottom. If you do not have an Auto Min-Max tab, no worries. You can get the information you need on any page. But what is important is we need our Store Min, New Min, Store Max, and New Max. What is also helpful is our start and end date, but this is definitely required. Store minimum, store maximum, and new max. All right, so you can already see on a few of these, I actually have some data in my new max. So I'm going to go ahead and be sure to clear that out. We're going to click on Utilities, Auto Min-Max. All right, and so the Auto Min-Max button might be in a different spot for different people. Layouts are customizable and changeable. If you do not see your Auto Min-Max button on a menu, we are able to go ahead and right click, hit that menu designer, and add the Auto Min-Max button. You can do that on the top or the side menu. All right, but now that we have our Auto Min-Max open, we're going to start from the top of our column and essentially just work our way down. So first things first, we are going to change our min-max options, and I can decide what sales date range my min-max is looking at. So remember, based on the sales date range, there is a possibility that we could not have sold enough to require a minimum or not sold enough to require a maximum. Really why it's important that we understand what date ranges we are using. For me, running year to date, that's exactly what I want. Now, my filters, right now this is set to min-max. Let's take a look at what that is. So that is looking at specifically only items that have been received on the 7th. I really don't want that, so I'm going to be sure to clear that filter. And OK. Now, over here under locations, we can select my stores. In my setup, I do have 2 stores. If we're working for only one store, we just deselect the store that we're not looking to change our min-max options for. So you do want to be careful what store we're looking at. Currently, I'm defaulting to store 001, so that's really the only one I want to look at min-max for today. Now I'm going to analyze sales. And there we go. You can see some stuff is happening in the background. Now we have a new start date and a new end date. There we go. Now I'm going to hit next. Next is my formula definition. This is probably the most difficult part of using our Auto Min-Max, and the part where I'm going to say just remember to take it slow. We definitely want to start in small, manageable sections of inventory. I might even say start with your core inventory or mission critical items, those items that, if they go out, we are missing out on sales. All right, and so I already have a formula. It's just called my new formula 0, but I'm going to hit another new, and my new formula 1 has showed up here. So you can rename these formulas, and normally what I do is I rename them something specific. So if you are doing this by vendor, it can be the vendor's name or vendor pants, vendor shirts, vendor whatever style that this actually is. We can get really specific with it. For now, I'm going to go ahead and just leave it PMA, one of the vendors I can see in my screen here. And filters. So again, really important to remember that you have access to all of the filters that you have built in your filtered view. So you can set up a filter for your PMA vendor. You can set up a min-max filter for any vendor, any combination of items. That way, you do not have to set it up every time you do this min-max. What we're going to do is we're just going to toggle to that particular filter and bring it up. All right. For example, this really will be my PMA. And so I might actually want to change this to, instead of min-max, PMA, just to keep things straight here. Well, for the purpose of the video, we can go ahead and leave that at that filter. Now you'll notice that this one does not have a filter, so that is looking at all my inventory. I got to be really careful with that one. The reason why I'd want to be careful is because the way I need to reorder, let's say, chapstick, can be very different than the rate and quantity to which I would want to reorder boots or skis, anything else. All right, we're going to go ahead and work with this. And now we're going to take a look at our minimum and maximum details. So over here under minimum details, we start the same. So sold from 0 to what is essentially infinity for us. So if it's sold within that range at all, I want you to do one of the following. So I want you to choose either lesser than or greater than. So usually for minimum, we do keep this at lesser than, and that would be usually. But of course, there are times where we want to choose greater than. Now, our DOS is our days of supply or quantity. Days of supply is essentially how long in between shipments do you normally have to wait for these items. So this particular vendor can ship to me, or does ship to me usually once every 2 weeks. So I need at least a 14 days of supply of any item that is selling. Or a quantity. Now this quantity is something that I can set up myself. So again, depending on what I'm reordering, this quantity is going to be different. If this is something small, like keychains or mugs, I might have a lot of room to store these. So I can set up something like I want this quantity of 10. If they're much larger items, I might not physically have the space for it. So I would want a much lower quantity. So for now, let's just say 5. So what I'm doing here is any item that is sold from 0 to infinity, my minimum will be the least between, or the lesser than, between a 14 days of supply or a quantity of 5. This is saying is in a 14-day span, on an average 2 weeks, if I only sell 5, or let's say I only sell 6, it's going to pick the quantity of 5, because of course 5 is less than 6. If on average I only sell 2, then that is now my minimum. That is smaller than 5. That's all it is. Now you got to be careful when you are choosing lesser than, if you on average do not sell that item enough. It is very possible that your minimum is going to be 0. Now taking a look at our maximum details. Sold from 0 to infinity, the condition, we're going to pick one of these two. Now for maximum, most people change this to greater to give us that upper ceiling. Now again, that is going to be most. Not everything needs to be set up to the greater. There are some places where, again, those larger items, if I'm just not selling enough to warrant the minimum, then I might not even really want the maximum either. But in this case, we're going to do greater than. Now the days of supply is going to be the same. It does not matter how much I order. It always takes this vendor about 2 weeks. And over here, the quantity, this time I'm going to say 8. Just a few more. Now, you might be wondering about the second half to this formula, percent increase, annual sales, and out of stock. This is going to be a little bit more if you were analyzing, let's say, last year's sales. And last year, you guys ran out, so you wanted to do 10% more than whatever you did last year. That's where our percent increase would come into play. But first things first, we want to go ahead and learn to walk before we can run. So get comfortable with the first half of this formula. Sold from, sold to, condition, days of supply, and quantity. All right. So now we have set up our minimum and our maximum details. And we have our brand new formula. So now I can go ahead and just hit save. I'd be able to build new formulas if I'd like, but for now I'm just going to go ahead and hit next. Now under calculating min-max, I can choose what formulas are going to currently be calculated. Now I don't want my new formula 0 to be calculated, but I do want my PMA to be calculated. using my min-max filter. Now, if I would like, I could override the filters with whatever I have set up here. But for now, I know that that filter is correct, so we're going to leave that as is. Next option is whether or not we round our min and max up, and for me, I will round that up. Next, we're going to calculate levels, and there we go. Now we are going to hit finish. Do you want to save changes? For now, yes. Okay, so over here, you can tell that I just have not been making enough sales for this to really warrant a minimum. But over here under max, I have the quantity of 8 because that is greater than 0. So that's why it was selected. Now, the new min and the new max are just workplaces. This does not actually affect anything yet. This is very similar to the price manager where you're allowed to now make your final edits. You ultimately are the person and you know your inventory. Now let's say for these particular items here, as you can see, I sold into the negative. So perhaps I did not sell those items because I just did not have them in stock. So what I'm going to do is I'm still going to go ahead and set up my own minimums for them. I'm just going to go down the list and add the 2 minimums to my new min and my new max. All right. From there, once I am happy with the numbers that I'm seeing under new min and new max, next is updating my mins and maxes. Because right now, this is just a workplace one more time. Okay, so we're going to come back down to utilities. Sorry, I forgot I put it on my main screen here, so we're just going to hit that auto min max. So we've already changed our min max options. We've changed our sales range that it was looking at. We've already calculated our min max based on our formulas and our filters. Next is to update that min and max. All right, so when we update, we can choose to update quantities only. That would be only the items that actually have a new quantity. We can also say update all. Be very careful with update all because update all will include all of my zeros. So if I did have minimums and maximums, this would be a good way to clear them out if I wanted to restart. All right, but I'm going to do quantities only. I don't know if I have anything else set up. I don't want to get rid of any other work. So I'm just going to go ahead and do quantities only. Now, we can also add a filter. This is another way to kind of ensure that you're only updating what you mean to be updating. So this filter would be for my PMA vendor, and that vendor is the only vendor that I ran a min and max for, so I know I'm good. All right, all stores. This one specifically is my store 001, so I'm going to just check that store. And now, final step is to update min max. And there we go. Now that did happen in the background, but now we can see our store minimum has changed and my new min has been zeroed out. My store max has changed and my new max has been zeroed out because we've used it. All right, so we are all done. Now I can just hit finish. There is the option to clear min max and to copy min max. But a clear is going to be more so I just wanted to zero it out. I want to start over. In the copy, you can copy from one store to another for those in a multi-store environment. That's one of the easiest things to do. We're going to go ahead and just hit finish here. And yeah, we can save those changes. And there we go. We've successfully updated our store minimum and our store maximum using the auto min max utility. Now, that being said, I do want to remind you, everybody, that you can absolutely just type in a store minimum and a store maximum. You can bypass the auto min max altogether if you don't need that level of digging or that level of formula. You only want to set up auto min max for 2 or 3 core items. Just type it right on into the column. Don't forget that you can also utilize your quantities here. Your sold, received, and on order. That is outside the scope of this video for today, but Please take a look at our sold, received, and on order feature of the month as well. So you can get a good understanding of what you might need for that minimum and that maximum. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to give us a call at 916-368-1070. That is our main tech support line. If you're getting any errors or anything as you are trying to go through this auto utility, we are here to help. If you just want to set up an appointment to dive a little deeper and talk about your specific industry or your specific store, please feel free to still give us a call and ask to speak with a member of our service department. They would be happy to go ahead and schedule that training appointment for you. All right, but that completes our feature of the month for today, our Auto Min Max utility. Again, my name is Liz with Big Hairy Dog. Thank you so much for joining me today. You have a great rest of your day.